Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into an emotion that we usually just write off as something for kids, but it turns out it's actually one of the most powerful strategic tools we have. We're talking about wonder, and we're going to see how it's not just some fleeting feeling, but a whole process that can unlock innovation, supercharge leadership, and lead to some major breakthroughs. So let's just start with this question. Just think for a second. When was the last time something happened that just completely broke your model of how the world is supposed to work? What did that feel like? That little jolt of shock, that moment of confusion, well, that right there, that's the starting line for wonder. And, this quote from Isaac Asimov just hits the nail on the head. The real magic moment in discovery isn't shouting eureka when you have the answer. No, it's that quiet moment before, when you just look at something and go, huh, that's funny. It's the instant you realize your map of the world doesn't quite match the territory you're standing in, and that little feeling is the seed for everything that comes next. So, let's talk about that initial moment. We're going to call it a spark. This is the trigger, that exact point where your brain's predictions just completely miss the mark and you realize something new has to be learned. The fancy term for this is epistemic rupture. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? Well, that's because it kind of is. This first phase, bewilderment, it feels chaotic. It feels like you're lost. But it's not a sign you failed. It's actually the essential, messy first step for any breakthrough. Your old way of understanding has to literally shatter before a new, better one can even begin to form. Now, when that bewilderment happens at lightning speed, we have a different word for it. Surprise. And this is serious stuff. In military strategy, surprise is what they call a force multiplier. Why? Because the raw shock of the unexpected can totally short-circuit an enemy's entire decision-making process. It just goes to show you the immense power of completely violating someone's expectations. Okay, so your reality has been shaken up a bit. What happens then? Well, that spark sets off a really profound shift inside your head. And that brings us to our second stage. The mind opens. So after that initial jolt, your mind enters this state of openness. You can think of it like the defensive walls you've built around your beliefs just dissolving. And this is so important because it fights against confirmation bias, our natural habit of only listening to information that we already agree with. Think about tense diplomatic talks. A moment of shared awe or surprise can create this tiny window where both sides lower their guard and, for a second, totally new ideas can actually get through. And that openness leads straight to humility. I mean, when you're genuinely confronted by something that just dwarfs your current understanding, your ego can't help but shrink a little. And listen, this is not a weakness, far from it. In super high-stakes fields like aviation or running a nuclear power plant, this kind of humility is a critical safety feature. The pilot who is in awe of the complexity of their machine respects its power. The one who's arrogant, well, that's how disasters happen. So your mind's open, your ego's in check. Now what? Well, the process switches gears. It goes from being a passive state to a very active one, which is our third section, the drive to know. And this is where we have to make a really key distinction between wonder and curiosity. Think of it this way. Wonder is what makes you stop in your tracks, look up at the stars, and just say, whoa. It's a static state of awe. But curiosity? That's the kinetic energy that kicks in right after. It's the force that pushes you forward and makes you ask, wait, what is that? And how does it work? That how does it work impulse, that is inquisitiveness. It's the part of wonder that picks up the tools and starts investigating. Take biomimicry, for example. Engineers didn't just stand around marveling at a gecko walking up a glass wall. Their inquisitiveness made them get out the microscopes to figure out the physics of it. And that curiosity is what eventually led to creating brand new industrial adhesives. Inquisitiveness turns the miracle into a mechanism. Okay, so here's where it gets really cool. We can actually engineer these moments of wonder on purpose. This brings us to our fourth section, wonder as a strategy. Let's look at how people deliberately use these principles in the real world. In product design, you hear the word delight all the time. Delight is really just a tiny, engineered moment of micro-wonder. You know that little burst of confetti or that unicorn that flies across the screen in an app like Asana when you finish a task? That's not just cute decoration. It's a precisely calculated hit of positive emotion that reinforces a habit and, keeps you using the product. In branding, the goal is a little bigger. It's enchantment. This is about creating a sustained state of wonder,
I mean, just look at Apple. They don't just sell you a phone, they create this whole theater of the mind with their pristine stores and that famous unboxing experience. That feeling of enchantment makes us lower our natural skepticism and maybe even our price sensitivity just because we want to be part of that story.
And in leadership, wonder shows up as admiration. A truly great leader understands how to frame a top performer not as a threat that makes everyone else feel insecure, but as a source of admiration, a benchmark for what's possible. This is how you create a culture of elevation, where one person's incredible success lifts the entire team up, instead of a culture of envy, which just tears everyone down.
All right, so we've traveled all the way from that first little spark of confusion to a full-blown deliberate strategy. So let's bring it all home. Our final section, the ultimate payoff. After all of this, what's the grand result?
And so we land here, at the very core of it. Wonder is the bridge. It's the bridge between the world we think we know and the vast unknown world that's actually out there. It's our brain and our heart's response to the sheer newness and scale of reality.
And this brings us to its ultimate strategic value. More than anything else, wonder is the antidote to cynicism. A cynical person or a cynical company can't innovate because they operate on the assumption that they already know it all. But a culture that's driven by wonder, it assumes its map is wrong, that it's incomplete, and that there are always amazing new things to discover just over the horizon. And when you can sustain that sense of wonder over a long period of time, it transforms into something else, zeal. This isn't just a casual interest anymore. This is a deep, burning passion. It's the zeal for discovery that fueled someone like Marie Curie to work in a freezing shed, enduring poverty and radiation poisoning. The wonder of her work gave her a motivation so profound that it made all that hardship worth it. So I'll just leave you with this thought. Your map of reality, my map, everybody's map, it's incomplete. It has blank spots and sea monsters drawn in the margins. The only question is, what are you going to do about it? What funny, bewildering, incredible discoveries are waiting for you right at the edge of what you think you already know?